Sally Goold, an exceptional nurse leader. I'll be using the table of contents to describe how Dr. Sally Goold became one of the most successful nurse leaders in the nursing profession. Before I start this presentation, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay my respects to elders both past and present. Please note that this presentation may contain images of deceased Indigenous persons. My name is Maame Agyei-Mensah. I'm a student of University of Sydney Technology, a third-year student in Bachelor of Nursing, and enrolled in Leadership Beginners Practice. Leadership is essential for monitoring upcoming nursing students, advocacy, and working together with other nurses in a team for patient safety outcomes. Over the years, countless nurses have shown excellency, leadership skills, and paved the way for nurses. A phenomenal nurse leader is Dr. Sally Goold. She was the first Aboriginal/Indigenous registered nurse in New South Wales, Australia. Her role makes more Indigenous people accepted and included in the nursing sector. Her quest to understand why there were not enough Aboriginal or Indigenous people in the nursing field gave her passion for establishing the Congress of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Nursing's CATSN. She desired to change the narrative and make the nursing or health sector culturally safe for Aboriginal or Indigenous people within Australia. Dr. Sally Goold was born in Naranda and is a proud Aboriginal woman of the Wurundjeri people. Dr. Sally Goold was one of 7 children to Father Archie George Badminton and Eva Lily Scott. Dr. Gould's family moved to St. Peter's in Sydney when she was a young girl. Dr. Gould's children were the only Aboriginal kids to attend St. Peter's Public School at the time. Unfortunately, Sally and her siblings were subjected to racial and physical abuse because not many people looked like her. As a child, Dr. Sally Goold was hospitalized several times with various problems. She thought the nurses that looked after her were incredible women, and ever since then she wanted to be a nurse. Sally Gould finished school at 14 after achieving intermediate certificate. At 16 years old, she began her nursing training at Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, RPA, before getting accepted. Junior nurse at RPA. She worked in the operating theatre and night duty. She also applied to King George V Memorial Hospital and became a senior nurse and also a nurse in charge. In 1971, she was approached by Douglas Flower and Fred Hallows to set up and run the Aboriginal Medical Service Redfern. She was employed at St. Andrew's War Memorial Hospital to conduct the post-basic cardiothoracic nursing course. Employed as a lecturer at the School of Nursing, Queensland University of Technology, in 1997, Sally founded the Congress of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Nurses, CATSN, first executive director and still chairperson today. Transformational leadership is essential in the nursing setting because of the positive influence the leadership skill has on the fellow workers. There is a need to explain the attributes and values using this form of leadership skill. There are different attributes a transformational leader needs to demonstrate. Therefore, a transformational leader's core values are inspirational motivation, idealized influence, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration. Dr. Sally Gould is a phenomenal woman who displays all these attributes, but especially values of idealized influence and inspirational motivation. That made her an exemplar as evidenced by her character achievement, and not only made her an asset to her community but to the nursing profession. Idealized influence builds confidence, trust, admiration, respect, pride, and optimism among followers, as evidenced by helping set up and run Aboriginal medical service in Redfern, as Sally Gould did. Sally Gould built trust with her community, getting Shirley Perry involved when she realized some community members did not accept her. She was able to rise above the status quo at the time when Aboriginal people didn't know a woman, making sure she kept educating herself to the highest level and not stopping, even though through racism was a problem at that time. Even though Sally Gould had challenges in her upbringing, such as economic racism and academic challenges, she overcame and adapted her vision to make sure that her community has a chance in the nursing workforce. The dedication, drive, and passion of leaders attributes give others, such as their followers or nurses, the zeal and excitement about the vision communicated clearly for the organization to pursue the same vision for the great future outcomes. Nurse mentorship plays a critical role in the nursing profession. It is vital to have nurses to impact the future workforce. Sally Gould acted in different mentorship roles, such as being a nurse educator and a lecturer at the Queensland University of Technology, founding the Congress of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Nurses (CATSN). Through her mentorship roles, she encouraged the recruitment of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders while also educating non-Indigenous nurses on cultural awareness and cultural competency. As a trailblazer and nurse leader, Dr. Sally Gould made a lot of contributions and achievements. One of her earliest contributions was in 1971 when she was approached and established and ran the Aboriginal Medical Service at Redfern with Dr. Flowers and Fred Hallows. The Aboriginal Medical Service (AMS) was the first Aboriginal community-controlled health service in Australia. Aboriginal Medical Health Service, pioneered by Aboriginal Community-Controlled Health Service, was founded to provide health services to local Aboriginal community in and around Redfern. This was to overcome the neglect and racism Aboriginal people were experiencing in mainstream health service. It was a great privilege to work for her people and collaborative with Fred and other doctors who worked there voluntarily after they had finished the day at work at the hospital. In the first year, the AMS was funded by volunteers, but then soon after that, it was funded by the federal government. As a result, AMS Redfern has snowballed into multidisciplinary health service. Another contribution that Dr. Sally Gould made to the nursing profession was founding the Congress of Aboriginal and Indigenous Islanders Nurses, (CATSN), in 1997. The vision of CATSN by Dr. Sally Gould was born out of the lack of representation in the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander nurse and midwifery profession. The goal of CATSN is to increase the number and retention of Indigenous nurses workforce, as this was vital in addressing the health needs and improving the health in the Indigenous community. In addition, the organization strives to provide health equality for Aboriginal, Indigenous, Torres Strait Islanders peoples and communities across the Australian health system. The organization has now earned recognition among the peak bodies in the nursing and midwifery, therefore having a significant mark in the nursing profession. Over the years, Dr. Sally Gould has been presented with awards that have shown her as a great leader. Such awards have been the Senior Australia of the Year 2006 and an award that has been named after her by the organisation of CATSN. It was a privilege to learn so much from a nurse leader that not only went above all odds to become a nurse, but her leadership skills helped and inspired other people in the nursing field. Upon this research and finding on Dr. Sally Gould, I realized that continuous professional development is essential in keeping skills up to date and learning if lifelong within nursing. Sally Gould's life has shown that during her lifetime, the nursing profession has evolved and changed due to her commitment and leadership to change the narrative for Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in the health inequality gap is narrowing in Australia. Being a woman of color myself, I can only imagine what courage and motivation a woman like Dr. Sally Gould would have accomplished all her educational achievements and her achievements for her community to increase the Indigenous workforce in the nursing profession. I've also learned that it is critical in the nursing profession to understand the need of culture awareness and culture safety to provide that to my patients of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders or other nationalities. I appreciate the importance of continuous professional development by making sure I attend in services. So I plan to pursue a postgraduate education, whether the postgraduate education opportunities or becoming a cosmetic nurse and showing representation in the side of nursing field. I also realized that it will have involved in the nursing profession with constantly changing policies and procedures in the nursing field. Mentorship in the nursing profession also plays a significant part in the nursing field's progression, and having senior nurses to look up to encourages the continuation of one's career. I appreciate you listening to my presentation today, and it was a pleasure to be enrolled in your course this semester. Thank you.